Hi everybody, this is Nina with Mariposa and Vine. Doing my second video here. This is on an altered cigar box, and what I have here is the back of the box, or the bottom of the box actually is what I should say. When I'm making my altered cigar boxes, like to leave part of the box unaltered so that the owner can see what it once was. My plan is to put a couple of little beads on the bottom, wooden beads that are painted to make some little legs. So I wanted to show you what I did with this box, which I'm calling Imagination is Key. So this is the front of the box. It goes this way. And this is the lid, which opens up like this. Pretty simple, nothing that elaborate, but I think sometimes there's beauty in simplicity. So the paper was from a pack called Trade Winds. I'm not sure who the manufacturer was, but I did get it at Joann Fabric. It was in the sale rack for $7.95, and it had some really cool paper. So all the paper that I used in this box is here. Now this is a wooden cigar box, but it was covered in paper, and what I did here was I painted all the edges in a little bit of gold leaf. I think I used, let me see here, I used the Folk Art Pure Gold, and this bottle's looking old because I just got it at our secondhand store for like $2. Figured that was a bargain and I would never have to buy it again with a bottle that big. So I'm always bargain hunting, and we have lots of places here in North Carolina to bargain hunt in. So that is the paper and the paint that I used along the edges. So most of the elements on the front, at least the paper elements, came off of the same 12 by 12 sheet of paper. The key included, which I fussy cut and attached to a piece of chipboard and then glued down. And that is actually what I used to open the box with, as you can see here. Kind of a cool three-dimensional element here. What I did here, the paper was pretty flat. It had some texture in a way because there's some background writing and stuff like that, but it didn't have much other stuff going on, so I used a gold Sharpie to embellish these little circles and the arrow and part of the dial of the compass. I did the same thing over here, and I aged it a little just with some rub and buff that I rubbed across it just to make it look like it was a little bit worn, and to give it a little bit of shine. The little piece in the middle was actually a piece just like this, and that came from the back of one of these Michaels frames that I'm sure you've all seen in the $1 and $2 bins. When I use frames inside of my boxes, I usually take this back part off, and I take that little guy off, and so I have those extra parts to use, and I don't like to throw things away. My parents grew up in the Depression keeping everything and reusing stuff and doing it yourself, so that's kind of the mentality that I have. I like to use things. I was trying to make it so that the piece moved because it's on this little grommet rivet thingy, but the glue kind of prevented that from happening. That's okay. Fewer pieces to get lost. Then this piece here was actually another piece that was off of the same piece of paper that I cut out. It was very square when it was on there, so I just ripped the edges to make it look like it was an old treasure map. I used some distress ink, probably vintage photo or walnut stain on the edges. I can't remember which one of those two were my go-tos. And then on the back side, I used that same gold Sharpie to write a little journal on the back about imagination, just some thoughts about imagination. That way when it curls up, it's another added little whimsy, something unexpected, and it's not just a plain piece of paper. And as you can see, I distressed that as well with the inks to make it look old. This little timepiece here I thought was fitting for this imagination box, Key to the Imagination. Key, or Imagination is Key is what I'm calling it actually. Was just one of the $2 embellishments that Michaels makes. We have 3 Michaels around where I live, and one of them, only one of them, has these embellishments that come in a set of 5 different things, and they had clocks, they had fleur-de-lis, they had keys, and crowns, words. They had a bunch of different stuff, so I got as much as I could on that particular day. And then these edge pieces here was just some border that I found again in, like I said, I like to bargain hunt, so this was in the sale rack at Michael's. I put some on this side, cut it to fit, and then a little bit on this side too. And I forgot to say that this compass here is raised slightly, so there's a 3-dimensional quality to it. I don't know if you can see that if I lift it up. There you go. Alright, so on the sides, just all 4 sides, I use this really wonderful paper with all the keys on it. I just really like the way that looks, and it just brightens up the box. It's a good contrast to that dark navy on the top. It's all covered in keys, and I just love it. Just glued that down. And I use it on the inside too, on the top cover. And on the bottom, so you can see the bling there. The other thing I did here was use one of those key embellishments. I stained that with some, it was actually silver when I started with it, and it's a little loose, so I think I have to re-glue it. I colored it with alcohol ink, and then I used some rub and buff over that to make it gold, since the tone of this box is gold and not silver. And then I did a little bit of the same here. This was one of those $2 Michael frames, like I told you, or $1 Michael frames, that I used a little darker blue paint on to distress a little bit, and then went over that with some gold paint or rub and buff. I can't remember which. I made it so that this particular one, you probably can't see that, but you can actually put your own picture in there. And I may put in a piece of paper that you could use to journal that could be behind the picture as well. It'll probably have a key on it as well. And on the inside I just used a contrasting paper. These floral pattern here is actually in gold, shiny gold, so it adds some nice bling to this box. I'm pretty happy with it because this is only the 2nd box that I have made. It's not super fancy or anything, but I'm happy with the way this one turned out. One more thing I'm thinking about doing is just writing "Imagination is Key" or stamping or something like that in these little embellished gold spots, just to accentuate the theme. So that's it. Love to hear your comments. I will see about getting the name of that book of paper that this came out of into the description, so look for it there if you're curious about this paper. And please subscribe. I'm kind of new at this, and your support would be appreciated. Again, it's Nina with Mariposa and Vine. Talk to you later.